let Terry leave until I'm presenting, or we may not get my presentation out. So.
Okay. No problem.
Thanks to both of you.
Yes.
Shelley, did you get the email this week that you did not get last week? And I think Vince had the same problem.
I found the email in my spam. I'm sorry.
That's what. I always send one to myself before I send it to everybody to make sure the links work and everything. And one time it'll show up in my inbox, and then the very next time I try it, it's in my spam folder. There's really no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
And yes, I got mine as well. Mine was never in the spam folder. I'm just guessing it must have been in a glitch in Gmail or something.
Yeah.
So Vince, are you adjusting to retirement?
Well, I'm trying to. It's week 3.
Week
I'm
3,
still
okay.
a novice, at it, but I'm trying.
Okay, there you go.
Pretty easy to do, Vince.
Good.
Hello.
Hey, Raymond,
Yes.
I got a book to pick up at the library concerning that question I had
Uh-huh.
about the steam engines, and it's ready to pick up. Supposedly it has the history of that, so
Oh, good. Very good.
I want to find out.
Yeah. Let me know.
I done an essay on the 51 flood and the steam engines that were put on the bridge and got washed down into the river. And the question was always, are they still there?
And they are.
At least all or part of them, I think. There was a book written about it, so pick it up today.
You can give a program on it,
Yeah.
Tom.
So the book report, perfect.
Yeah.
I've got openings in March.
This would be more appropriate in July, probably at the 70th anniversary of the flood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a program on that flood. What an incredible impact it had on this community.
Yeah.
Vince, that would be during your time setting up speakers, so you might want to make a note of that.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah. That'd be some good history.
Some of us were actually living here when it happened too.
I was one of them.
Yep. Me too.
I'm going to wait one more minute. We've kind of achieved our critical mass of our typical number of people that join us, but I usually shoot for about 4 or 5 hours.
Need to figure out why I can't do it though. I said I wasn't connected to the internet. I went up there and clicked it on. Clicked it on. I got the Gmail, but when I went to Zoom, it said I wasn't connected.
Did you click on?
So what was the topic you were discussing? I was a couple of minutes late and didn't hear what the event was y'all were talking about.
I was talking about the 1951 flood.
It was a devastating event for Topeka.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure you've all seen that the post office over in Noto has the watermark where it how far it went up. It's like, holy moly. It was way up the wall. Wow.
Yeah, they got to 36 feet. Flood level is like 22 feet.
Well, and there were I remember some photos showing some people on their roof and things like that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
There were boats on Kansas Avenue. We could get up on the office building at 5th Kansas and look north and see boats.
You're welcome. Sent him some pictures of your softener. He said he should be able to tell by looking at the inside of it whether we should spend some time kind of make that one work.
Well, I think we're going to go ahead and kick off. And Steve, I don't know if you can mute everybody but me, or I'll unmute.
I can mute everybody, but that's going to include you.
Well, I'll unmute. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Rotary. Beautiful day. Good day to be a Rotarian. I said that because I saw Blanche here, and that's the way she always kicked off her meetings, and I always like that. I'm going to go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll go ahead and recite it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Guests, I see one guest and prospective member. I think I saw Michelle. I got to flip screens. There's Michelle. Welcome to our meeting, Michelle. Thank you for joining us. Announcements. I've always been saying this, but just so you know, we do open up the Zoom meeting around 11:30. So if you want to join us early, just for a little socializing time, that would be great. Want to extend congratulations to the Topeka Center for Peace and Justice for sponsoring the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. It was a virtual event this year. It was last Monday. I did hear from Joni, who was tuned in, and she said it's very good. I'm again scanning. Anita Wolgass sent me an email saying she had a conflict today. She could not attend, but today is Anita's birthday. So if you see her today, wish her a happy birthday. If you see her anytime soon, wish her a belated happy birthday. This is a repeat, and I may be running it into the ground, but if you are doing volunteer service hours, we want you to report those hours to Jeanette Weens. Her email address is in yesterday's email. Similarly, we're going through a calling program to contact members that have not been attending recently, to reach out, see how they're doing, see if there's anything we can help them with. And that's something you can do from the safety of your home. So if you're interested in spending a little bit of time making those phone calls and contacting people, please go ahead and send an email to Steve Knoll. And Steve's email is in my yesterday's email. I think that is it for my announcements. And I'm going to kick it over to Jim Liker. Jim, I know, is here somewhere. He may be on page 2. And he is going to introduce our
Jim, you got to unmute.
Okay, all right, there we go. Is that better? Great. Okay. First of all, I do want to introduce our speaker, but I also want to, I am truly, truly grateful. I went through a very serious bout with COVID, came close to facing death and survived. And I give a lot of credit to a lot of prayers and a lot of great medical staff at Stormont Vale. I was in the hospital 9 days, lost about 17 pounds, had all kinds of issues going on, and thankfully turned the corner and improved. So I am grateful to be alive. I think the Lord must have more for me to do. And thanks to everyone who offered any support and prayers that they did. So I want to introduce Jeff Russell. I don't have his formal bio, but that's okay. I've known Jeff a long time. Jeff is oversees all the operations of Research Fine Foods in Topeka. Jeff served on our Capper Foundation Board of Trustees and did a great job, as he does with everything. A little bit of history here that I'm aware of anyway. As I understand it, Jeff started at the La Siesta plant, food plant, in 1996, I believe it was. And Research Fine Foods bought La Siesta, and the rest is history. It has grown and expanded. Jeff is overseeing the operations, lots of expansions. I'll let him tell you all the details. You would be amazed if you don't already know that the tons of food that they produce every day and the tons of food that are hauled in and out of Topeka every day and the amount of truckloads of food. It's a huge operation. They produce lots of side dishes, lots of entrees. You can see them in grocery stores all across the country. And again, very, very impressive operation. Food storage warehouses, 30-degree temperatures. You know, we went to visit about an opportunity there, and people are working in some of these warehouses at 30 degrees that they are bundled up and with their earmuffs on and doing a lot of great work. The headquarters of research is in Beaverton, Oregon. I'm certain that Jeff has a lot of frequent flyer miles going back and forth. Again, I mentioned some of the products and the expansions. Jeff, what I know about Jeff is that his motor runs pretty fast and probably needs to with all the things that he oversees. So when he does retire someday, we'll have to help him slow down a little bit because he's used to overseeing tons of details and tons of operations. Also, Jeff is married to Karen. Know her. They're both big supporters of Capper. Very community minded. I remember they showed up a few years ago with their SUV loaded with pots and pans and appliances and food and all kinds of things. We work with a lot of people of all ages, but we work with adults, supporting them to live independently in the community, in their residences with other adults. And they had a whole ton of stuff loaded up in their SUV to donate and send out to all the people in the residences that we support. And again, that's just the kind of people that they are. He oversees huge operations, but yet he still has time to smile and has a great sense of humor. And so without further ado, Mr. Jeff Russell with Research Fine Foods.
Great. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Okay, now how do I get this thing to present? Share screen. And I'm gonna get screen one. And then what? Share. Oh. Okay. Are you guys seeing my Jeff Russell slide?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now we'll go to presentation mode here. Maybe it'll let me, or maybe it won't. There we go. Okay. All right, perfect. Well, thanks for that rousing introduction, Jim. And I see a lot of friends and associates on the call. Nice to see you all, and appreciate the opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about research in Topeka. I know Jeanette's on here, and she has a very deep knowledge of what we do, and she's a great partner for us in a number of different ways. And I'll share that a little bit later about what we do with harvesters. Jim missed my start date by a little bit. I did actually start in 1982, and it was for La Siesta Foods. We did sell to Reesers in 1996, and in 96 I became a Reeser employee and have remained so since. I did announce my retirement earlier this year. Some of you may or may not know that. I'm going to stay with the company until about mid-2022, so we can have a sensible handoff of the category I run. Category I run does about 400 million in sales, and we have hired a guy to take my place, and he will be stationed in Oregon. And he's been working side by side with me for about 4 months now. And I've passed off part of my responsibilities to him for some operations, and we'll be doing the rest of it here as the year wears on. So I'm gonna give you a brief history about Reesers in Topeka and kind of how we got here. So in the 1950s, this is just a little bit about Reesers in general. In the 50s, I'm sorry? So in the 50s, Mildred and Earl Reeser took salads. They made salads on a porch in Oregon, and boiled potatoes and made mayonnaise, and started taking little containers of potato salad to the local Safeway store in Oregon. And that turned into They kept doing it and doing it, kept getting bigger and bigger. And then in the late 50s, their son, Al Reeser, got involved in the company and started helping them market and manufacture salads. In the early 60s, Al built a plant outside Portland. And his partner was Daryl Vandehey, and the two of them are the ones that started the company back in the 60s. And again, still making potato salad and coleslaw mostly, and selling only in Oregon. Even Al Reeser used to tell stories about loading up 20 cases of salads in the back of his station wagon and taking them up to the store after they made them at the end of the day. In the early 60s through the early 80s, Mr. Reeser builds manufacturing and distribution, a DSD route system, which is direct store delivery. Those are the trucks that go directly to the stores and merchandise, stock the shelves, mark the product. So he builds a DSD route system in the Northwest. And by the early 80s, Reeser's is about a 20 million pound company, and it's located in Beaverton, Oregon on Jenkins Avenue. Our corporate location is across the street from the Nike corporate headquarters in Beaverton. In the early 80s, Mr. Reeser had done such a great job in the Northwest, he really couldn't sell any more potato salad. And so he started looking east in order to expand his marketing. And he begins to work into Salt Lake City and Denver through his manufacturing that he has in Jenkins, or at Jenkins in Beaverton, Oregon. In the 90s, Mr. Reeser establishes a salad plant here in Topeka. I believe they broke ground in 90 and occupied it in 1991. That was about a 50,000 square foot manufacturing facility at 3167 Southeast 10th, which is where our what used to be our salad plant for the longest time. And so now Reeser's is in Topeka, and they're beginning to move moving their markets to the east. In the early 90s, Mark Reeser, Al's son, develops what's called hot fill production ideas. And hot fill production ideas are making mashed potatoes and making macaroni and cheese and packaging them in an airtight container while they are still hot, and then cooling those products off in a sealed container. And that winds up giving you a 50 or 60-day shelf life. And much of the mashed potatoes, packaged mashed potatoes and macaroni that you buy is manufactured that way today. So those ideas got started in Kansas, in Topeka, on this site. And Mark Reeser, Al's son, is the one that started them. In the mid-90s, they did salad expansions in Topeka. They added on to the plant here at 3167. We built a hot fill plant in Pasco, Washington, which is in eastern Washington, in Halifax, North Carolina, which is just on the northern border of North Carolina. And we started running hot fill in Pasco, Washington. In 1996, Reeser's was a $400 million company. So think about the growth that Reeser's established between 1980 and 1996. That was a really good growth rate. Building plants, getting additional distribution, new items, just continued to grow at a very, very rapid rate. In the 2000s, early 2000, I think it was 04, 03, 04, we bought the facility that had been previously occupied by OC Foods or Farmland Foods at 6th and Carnahan. We knocked that building down, built a new one, and started large-scale manufacture of hot fill in Topeka. And for us, hot fill means mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, and rice sides. Throughout this whole period, we are constantly expanding our Oregon operations. That's kind of the hub of the company, and that was the largest manufacturing unit for most of the company's history. Now, Topeka is actually the largest manufacturing unit for the company now. In the late 2000s, Mark Reeser invests in something that we call the baked concepts. And those are like au gratin potatoes, roasted potatoes, baked macaroni and cheese. We also make one that's called it's a brisket macaroni. It's very, very good. And what we do in this is we fill some macaroni and cheese in a container. We grate cheese over the top of it, and then we run it through a production impingement oven. It spins about 20 minutes in a room that's about 450 degrees, and it comes out the other end fully cooked and bubbling. We seal that product while it is still hot, and then run it through a chill system and package it off at 41 degrees, case it off and ship it. And, you know, many of us, I don't know, some of our younger folks probably have not ever made a white sauce or made au gratin potatoes, but they are a real pain in the butt to make. And there's just really no reason to make them anymore. For about $12, you can buy 40 ounces of our stuff, and it's as good as your mom ever made. In 2010, Al Reeser passed away. He had been very forward thinking. He had brought his son back to Oregon. Mark was in Kansas from 1991 to 2001. He was kind of the site leader here. And then Mark and a longtime trusted soul in the company switched places. Mark went back to Oregon, and Tony came here to Kansas. And Tony ran the facility here until he passed away about 5 years ago. And then in 2011, we bought our largest competitor, a company named Orville Kent, and they were headquartered in Chicago. They had a plant in Baxter Springs, Kansas. We basically wound up buying that company, closing their facilities, and then bringing their brands and pounds into our high velocity operations. Topeka was a very big benefactor of that assimilation. We saw Topeka grow 20% after the Orville Kent purchase. So by the time we get to 2010, we are at 700 million in sales, and the Orville Kent purchase puts us at 1.1 billion in sales. Reeser's is a privately held corporation. The Reeser family owns all the shares. Mark's mother, Pat Reeser, is the chairman of the board. Mark Reeser is the president of the company. No outside stockholders. So in 2016, we got out of our original manufacturing unit in Beaverton, Oregon, and built a state-of-the-art potato salad manufacturing facility in Hillsboro, Oregon. And Hillsboro is just outside Beaverton, or just outside Portland. And so that's a 300,000 square foot manufacturing facility. Very, very nice, very cleanable, very state-of-the-art. In 2018, we expanded our operations here in Topeka, and we brought on what we call the Crossroads plant. And that's that big plant that we built there at 6th and Croco. That was, and what we did was we abandoned our existing salad plant here, moved into our new plant, and subsequently have remodeled all that old space. In 2019, we remodeled the old salad plant and put in a bunch of new baked equipment. We spent the Crossroads salad plant build was about $85 million in Topeka, Kansas. The MSB baked remodel was about $50 or $55 million. That was completed in 2019 and started up. And then in 2021, we will be reoccupying a space that we got out of when we did our expansion in 19. And we'll be spending about another 15 million on this Topeka campus. We're manufacturing our way out of the business that we have right now. We'll shut some of that plant down for about 8 weeks, do a bunch of remodel on it, and then we will restart that facility in August as a macaroni and cheese plant. So today, Reese's is a $1.3 billion company, and all privately held again. We have really unique owners. One of the things I've enjoyed about working for Reese's all this time is Reese's is not really interested in what this quarter's returns are. They have a very long view on this, and they're looking to reinvest profits in the business to continue to grow. Mark Reeser has the same passion that his father had to see the Reeser brand as a default consumer brand for the entire nation. Mark wants to see the Reeser brand in all 50 states and very, very strong. And we are well on our way to making that happen. You know, they're really characterized by the reinvestment in the business. These guys don't fly private. They don't drive big fancy cars, and they don't live in just Mac Daddy houses. These guys they're regular people. And so I'm sure some of you all have met Mark, and their family is very down to earth and really about this company and the food business. A little bit more on our history lesson. I want to talk a little bit about La Siesta Foods. So where I really started was at La Siesta Foods, and La Siesta Foods really started in 1972 because the Alcala family could not find good tortillas in the Midwest to support their La Siesta restaurant. So Artie built the La Siesta plant, and they ran it for about 6 years and eventually wound up selling it to my dad in 1978. When my dad bought La Siesta in 1978, it was doing about 400,000 in sales, something like that. In 1985, my dad met Al Reeser at a food show in San Diego, and they hit it off like two peas in a pod. Reeser's eventually wound up buying half of our company in 1985, and they began to buy all of their Mexican food from us. In 1988, my father, Bo Russell, passed away. And by that time, my two brothers, Mark and Chris, were in with us. We had grown the company from about 400,000 in sales to 10 million by 1988, partially through our partnership with Reese's, but also through other private label and other manufacturing opportunities that we found. In 1990, we expanded La Siesta, built a couple of new buildings, got deeper into flour tortillas, and tripled our burrito manufacturing capacity here in Topeka. In 1991, Mark Reeser came to Topeka as Reeser's started their manufacturing operations here in the East. In 1996, Reeser's bought the other half of La Siesta Foods, and then I became a Reeser's employee at that time and started running their frozen Mexican food business. In 2000, as I said, Tony Kunis and Mark Reeser switched places so Mark could learn how to be president of the company from his dad, and Tony Kunis came back here to run the site. In 2005, we built the Deer Creek plant, as I said earlier, and it's at 6th and Croco. In 2011, we built a distribution center at 6th and Carnahan. In 2018, we did the salad plant on 6th and Croco. And then in 19, we did the bake plant. And now we're doing the mac and cheese plant. Man, I tell you, in the years I've been here, I have seen a ton of change. When I came in 1982, I was the 19th employee on this site. And Reese's now employs somewhere between 15 and 1,600 people, all homegrown. Everything came from here. I started out as a production manager, kind of a supervisor type guy, and now I'm a vice president of operations. So this is kind of a listing of the plants that we have. We have our MSB bake plant, which is where my office is now, at 3149 Southeast 10th. We have the what we call the tortilla plant. We are not currently manufacturing in that right now. We're using it to store some equipment that we have. 3139 is our burrito plant right on the corner of 10th and Carnahan. Right up against the interstate on Carnahan is what we call Southern Cal Transport. We have about 35 drivers that are stationed here in Topeka, and we run a transportation hub out of here that services the Midwest and the East. And then 3728 Southeast 6th is 6th and Croco, and that's our Crossroads salad plant that came on in 2018. I made a quick map, took a quick clip of the of a Google map down here, and this area right here where my cursor is the that's I-70 and Carnahan, or I-70 and Deer Creek. So right off the corner here is where the Southern Cal Transport is. In this area right here, directly east of Southern Cal Transport, is our baked operation now. Moving further north up Deer Creek Traffic Way on the left-hand side, this is our distribution center here. And on the right-hand side is our Deer Creek Manufacturing Center. That is our, that's where we make mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese. And then further to the east here is our Crossroads salad plant at 6th and Croco. So we have, we've kind of spread our operations out. We sure, you know, in retrospect, we sure wish that we had been able to build in the Southwind Industrial Park where the city's developing now. We just didn't start on that side of town and just chose not to expand there. So our sites are kind of patchwork across the east side of town here. Kind of an idea of what the scope of our operations are. We have just under 1 million square feet under roof. Our burrito manufacturing and is between burrito and the torque plant. Those are the original buildings that were here in 1982. And then all the rest of this 900,000 square feet has been added subsequently by Reesers to expand our footprint here in Topeka. Here's some pictures of our plant. This is our Crossroads salad plant at 6th and Croco. It's a beautiful building. I know some of you may have been at the grand opening for that. We built that building from the first time we scratched dirt until we made the first pound was 54 weeks to build a 320,000 square foot building and spend $85 million. It was a very high-speed construction operations for sure. Our burrito plant is a little bit older. It was originally constructed in 85 and added on to in 90. It's kind of old school, and that business is actually in the upswing right now. And my belief is that we'll have to build a new burrito plant here before too long in the next 3 to 5 years. Our Deer Creek manufacturing facility is at 6th and Carnahan on the east side, 200,000 square feet. It's a high-speed manufacturing unit, very large, and it also very cleanable, high hygiene in all these plants. This is our baked plant. This is the plant that we are currently remodeling, and this is the view that you see when you drive by us on I-70. This is the plant that you see, and that's our baked plant. It's a smaller plant right now, but we're in the process of putting some new lines in that, and that plant by August will be making about 200,000 pounds per day. Our tortilla plant right now is being used for equipment storage. We don't have anything going on in there right now, and those are, you know, this is a building that we look to for future expansion, where we might be able to expand our operations and not have to acquire additional real estate or build a new building. Our Southern Cal trucking operation, 29 over the road drivers. We have 18 what we call hostlers. If any of you drive over here on the east side, you'll see some guys dragging trailers up and down the streets over here. Each day that we manufacture, we make about 1.5 million pounds of food. And most days we ship at least 50 outbound trailers. And we will make, when we are busy, like right before Labor Day or Memorial Day, or right before Thanksgiving or Christmas, we'll be doing 100 or 110 trucks a day outbound from our facility. This is our distribution center where we do all of our shipping. Inside the DC, we have, I think it's something on the order of 3 million cases in inventory, 8,000 refrigerated pallet spots, and another 2,500 frozen pallet spots there. And what we do is our guys go through, and like you do in the grocery store, they pick 50 of this and 90 of that, or 2 pallets of this or that, put them on trailers and ship them to customers. So I kind of went through that rather quick in order to leave some time for some questions. You know, as I think about us as community leaders and business people and long-term Topekans, you know, one of the questions I like to ask and have people think about is, you know, why is Reesers in Topeka? Why did Reesers choose Topeka to locate? And there's only one reason for that. The one reason for that is because my dad met Al Reeser in 1985. And Al Reeser wanted to expand his business, and he chose Topeka because he knew he was going to buy our company at that time. We didn't know that. And so as people that are interested in seeing our community flourish and grow in the future, who's the next La Siesta Foods for us? Who's that going to be? Which small business is going to attract somebody that's going to be a whale for us so we can keep our community growing? And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
That was great. I really appreciate that history. I did see one chat question, and it's, how has the pandemic affected the work at the company?
Oh my God. I will tell you, in March of last year, I saw the most historic shift in business that I've seen in my short 38 years in the food business. We had our food service business, which was formerly 55% of the total tonnage we manufactured, suddenly fell to 20% of our total manufacture. We lost, we had people, when the pandemic started, and I believe the date is like March 20th when this happens, I get a phone call from Mark Reeser, and he says to me, stop making mashed potatoes. I said, okay, you want us to stop at the end of the day, finish what we got on the plant and just not run tomorrow? He said, no, go out there and shut those packaging machines off right now. And what he was seeing was a wave of cancellations of restaurant orders because the restaurants had been closed and the food service distributors weren't real quick about shutting off what they were ordering from us. And all of the US Foods and Sysco houses across the nation, they were full. They couldn't take any more product, and they didn't know where they were going to sell the product they had. And we had some very anxious moments during that time. In about 10 days, it became evident that you all were going to the grocery stores and buying everything that we make off the shelf. And so all of a sudden we have Costco and Sam's and Walmart and Safeway calling us and saying, we need to add on, we need more. So we saw a historic shift from food service to retail. When we got to the end of April, our company was down 30% in pounds year to date against previous year. We finished last year up 2%, with a significant shift from food service to retail. It was unbelievable. Fortunately, we have enough different kinds of manufacturing lines that we were able to assimilate that shift. Now, more recently here, and like more day-to-day type things, as a result of the additional unemployment that has been offered to employees, people are not out looking for work. So we are running our plants generally minus 5% to minus 15% of planned staffing. That has hit our output. And there's just a number of people just aren't out looking for work because they can make $17 or $18 an hour at home, you know, getting their additional $300 to $600 a week and collecting unemployment. So they're staying home and watching Gilligan. So, you know, that it's been the staffing piece, the same issues that we are having, our vendors are having. So we are seeing deliveries get rescheduled because all of a sudden you came in and, you know, you had 500,000 pounds planned to produce, but you only got 400 because you only had 80% of your crew show up. So, you know, we don't run anything that we're not planning on shipping in the next 48 hours. So all of a sudden we're short. And the same thing was happening to us. A lot of that has leveled out now. The material side of things is much better. The employment side of things seems to be improving a little bit after the holidays. Some of that may be due to the fact that we did a $2 an hour wage increase. Good question. Thank you.
Jeff, and I have a question. I've noticed in recent years, I'm seeing more and more packaging branded reese's, but is it still correct that you do a lot of private label stuff for other household names or for even a regional grocery store chain? I assume that's still true.
It is, and kind of we have a very significant effort towards getting our brand across the country. We have a team that's focused on doing that, and we have done a great job in brand penetration throughout the nation. You know, to give you an idea of some of the names that you might recognize that we manufacture. Hormel Simple Ideas is manufactured here in Topeka. Target Good and Gather. We manufacture some sides for Kroger. We do not do their private label sides. They have their own manufacturing unit. We do their potato salad and chilled salads. Safeway Signature Sides, that is our brand. That is our manufacturing, their brand. And then if any of you that are familiar with the East Coast, we manufacture for Publix, Food Lion, Weiss, Ahold. Those are the ones I can think of. So private label's probably 60% of our business and 40% of it is our brand.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions for Jeff?
Yeah, this is Roger Ashelman. I'm curious about the transportation force. Is that your research people or are they contracted?
So that's it's a little bit of both, and seasonally it depends on we have our 27 rigs, our 27 tractors, and I think we have like 50 trailers or something. And we give our transportation group the very profitable routes. So a profitable route for us would be to take a trailer load of food up to Minneapolis and drop it off at Cub Foods, for instance, and then maybe hustle over to Wisconsin and pick up a load of cheese and come back to Kansas with materials that we are going to consume in manufacturing. That way we make the money on the freight and we aren't paying somebody. The types of loads that we contract out are the ones where we don't have a return trip. We don't have a round trip. We got to go to Phoenix. We got to go to Denver. We got to go to Dallas, and we don't have a backhaul. We're going to sell those out on the open market. So if you ever came out over here on a busy day, you'd be shocked at the number of trucks that are on our campus. At any one time, there'll be 250 trailers spotted on our campus and at least 100 tractors in various parts on our 87 acres that we have, waiting to get loaded, waiting to get unloaded, staging, whatever. And it's you know, for you all, it's a very different, you know, type of a world, but for me, it's just the way it is.
Do we have other questions? I'm scanning the chats.
I have a question, Jim Liker. Jeff, talk a little bit about your warehouse and how you stored the food, because I know it's freezing in there. I've been in there. Talk a little bit about that, if you would, if you don't mind.
Our warehousing is on the floor of our warehouse. There's probably, I'm going to guess, maybe 600 pallet spots on the floor. And those 600 spots, we know what's in them, and people go through and they pick 2 and 5 or whatever of what they need. The manufacturing plants make full pallets of product and transfer it to our distribution center. The distribution center houses all the product. So we have salads and burritos and tortillas, and hot fill is all in one place, so that when a customer orders something, it all comes on one pallet. And so the guys go through and they have a pick list, and they go up to a slot, and the pick list says, okay, go to this place in the warehouse and get 5 of these. So the guy walks up to that place in the warehouse, and he scans the slot, and he scans the order, and it says, yes, you're in the right spot. Pick 5 cases off that pallet. He picks 5 cases off the pallet, puts it on there. He counts the number that's left on the pallet, enters that, and it says, okay, you got the right number, move to the next spot. And we do that. Each truck is going to have something on the order of 30 pallets on it, and we ship 50 trucks a day. So we load maybe 1,500 pallets a day in that manner.
And what's the temperature in the warehouse, Jeff?
Temperature's 34 degrees all the time, no matter what. We also have we also have a kitting operation over there, Jim, and you and I talked about that a little bit. And
right.
The kitting operation is where we will take individual items and put them together. So we had a $50 million SKU for a number of years with Costco, for instance, where we would manufacture some tortillas, we would manufacture some salsa and some fresh crema. We would buy some little protein packets, some cut up. Let's see, what was that? That was cut up coleslaw or cabbage and a couple of other things, and put some packaging in it, and we would ship that to a Costco, and Costco would take all those pieces out and make 4 taco kits that you all bought for about $15. And we manufactured about 50% of the items that were in that kit and bought 50% of them, marked everything up, and then made it so the grocery had everything they needed in that one box.
Thank you, Jeff. I want to mention too, I should have in the introduction, Research in Topeka has basically a community relations committee. We have been very fortunate. They have come and toured our facility and looked us over, and other nonprofits too, I'm sure. And we put proposals in, and they funded a number of projects, funding training for our therapists and a number of other things over the years, many times. So again, just a great community partner and giving back to the community to help everybody out. So we're grateful to that, and thank you for your presentation. It's very, very impressive, as everybody agrees, I'm sure.
Thanks. And let's just talk a minute about Research Cares. Research Cares is it's a group of our production employees. It's largely hourly employees. They're given a sum of money every year. I believe this upcoming year it's going to be about $50,000. And this team decides where in the community that we are, as a company, going to spend that money. They also vet, if your charitable organization is having a fundraiser and you need some potato salad for that, you can submit to the Research Cares organization, and we're very likely to give you the potato salad that you need for your event. And it's a way for our employees to have a better kind of hook into the community. And the money is funded by the Research family. It does not come out of the plant's budgets or anything. The Research family endowed a certain amount of money for this to be done. each manufacturing unit that we have 14 across the country. Each manufacturing unit has its own budget based on the scope of its operation. And it's just a way for us to get more engaged in the community. We tend to fund things like Little Jimmy's softball team, or we think an awful lot of Highland Park High School. So we do a lot of stuff over at Highland Park High School because they're our neighbor. And we try and make some type of a community impact with both the cash and the food that we have available.
Make sure everything's all okay.
Jeanette really at Harvesters has been one of our major partners on that. It's been very gratifying to see how much help we've been able to give the community with that. And I know at one point, for instance, when the pandemic started, we were stuck with just about $1 million worth of food in Topeka that we could not ship because people wouldn't buy it, but we had already made it. And we actually got to the point where Jeanette said, "Don't send me any more stuff, I'm full." And so that's the first time we've ever been able to do that to Harvesters, I think.
Well, and you're a very generous donor of food to the Fiesta, I understand, correct? The Mexican Fiesta.
We have adopted the Fiesta as a benefactor. We help them prep some of their food, and we give them much of the materials that they use to make the food that we eat. We have also helped them. I went back in the 90s and helped them create a food safe prep operation. I went back in their kitchen and I saw what they were doing, and I called the father aside and the head of the Fiesta, and I said, "Well, fellas, this is a great deal you got going here, but if you make a couple thousand people sick with the way you're making this food, you're going to kill the golden goose." And so now we'll even do food safety training for them. We provide them all the gloves and hairnets and aprons that they need to create a food safe delivery for all of us to go eat at the church. We just think an awful lot of that. We have obviously a lot of our employees go to that church, and we just have a very good connection to them. Although, when I started back in the 80s, I would say 80% of our employees were Hispanic, and probably 80% of those employees attended that church. And looking at it 35 years later, I don't think our Hispanic population is over 50% now. That's the way the demographic change that we've seen here.
Do we have any final questions for Jeff? This was a fantastic presentation. I love the historical part of it. I learned a lot today. And I know Reesers has been a really big success story in Topeka. So thank you, Jeff, for that presentation. And I want to, rather than me announcing what we're doing next week, I'm going to throw it over to Larry Goronsky so he can kind of tease the presentation.
I'm sharing my screen now so that you can all take a look at the website. It's called ChicagoComedyAllstars.com. We will have 3 of these folks as our guests next week. They will be speaking or actually performing. They're kind of more scared than perhaps you are because they don't know how it's going to work over a Zoom scenario. But the 3 people, Patty Vasquez right here, and if you click on her name or her picture, you'll see her background. One of the crazy things amongst being a famous comedian and whatnot is she has been raising a special needs daughter for many years, and tremendous in what she gives. Rocky Laporte as well, former truck driver. Maybe he can pick up a side job at Reesers while he's here, since. But he also prides himself. He's done 2 not tours, but he's performed for the troops in Iraq twice, giving of his time. And then my lifelong friend is a gentleman named Jimmy McHugh, who is probably one of the funniest guys that I've known, very physical comedian. I don't know how it's going to work over Zoom, but because of his work with the Charleston Mattoon, Illinois Rotary Club, they bestowed a Paul Harris Fellowship on him. And so look forward to having a nice afternoon of entertainment next week. We're hoping that maybe we might be able to convince the Rotary Club that this would be a wonderful in-person fundraiser for the club once we are back to returning to live. But that's next Thursday. Be there or be square.
Thank you, Larry. I was muted there. Appreciate that. We can all look forward to that. I think that is it. I've done my announcement, so I'm going to conclude by reciting the 4-way plus 1 or 2 test. The things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And will it be fun and kind? Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Look forward to seeing you next Thursday, if not sooner. And if you see Anita, wish her a happy birthday. Have a great day and a good weekend. Steve, that was a great presentation. That was one of our best well-attended
It certainly
meetings
was.
we've had in a while.
I think I got up to 45.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw some people in the chat saying they had to go to another meeting, but still very great. I should have thanked him because Reesers is one of my biggest customers. So I've never met Jeff, but anyway, it was a great presentation.
I agree.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
See
you.
you soon.
All right.